Return to Glory podcast. Happy St. Patty's Day. Monday, March 17th. Been a couple of weeks since we've been on a show. A lot has happened. Not a lot of good has happened. But we're in the crown, gentlemen. Nebraska basketball. We're in the crown.
That's what we wanted all along. Inaugural tournament, first chance to be an inaugural tournament champion. Come on. That's what we wanted, right, Jack?
I will say the field for the crown is a lot better than the NIT field.
That's the goal. I mean, I think that was the goal of the crown, was to get competitive with the NIT, if not take a step above it. It looks like there's mostly power conference teams in the crown. We got matched up with Arizona State in the first round. What do you guys think of the timing of it? I think we play March 31st, so 2 weeks from today on the dot. I believe it falls between the Elite Eight Final Four week.
I guess I don't know. I haven't put much thought to the timing of it.
Different.
I guess
the NIT starts this week. Like, it starts fresh.
Yeah. I suppose it's good because they're later in the tournament, there are fewer games and like the excitement kind of dies down of the round of 64, round of 32.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I like the timing of it better than NIT just because it's towards the end of the tournament.
I agree, because the hype, you kind of get a little bit less excited. I mean, the first weekend of March Madness is always the best because it's got games every minute of the day, basically, and it just slows down. But I agree. I thought that was good. And I also think, looking at it from a program perspective, you do get more practice time. And also people probably are going to complain about that because it is a long gap between the last time we played, which was already a week ago against Iowa, not making the Big Ten tournament, and then having to play on March 31st, which will be about a 3-week time gap there. So, Dak, I do want to give you a shout out for being the biggest Husker fan on the planet last weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could call it that.
You were so mad and frustrated that we didn't make the Big Ten tournament that you gave yourself a concussion.
Yep. Fired me up that much.
What happened? All I know is we couldn't record because you had a concussion. How the heck did you get a concussion?
Long story. We don't need to tell it on here.
Not really. I mean, I can give you the Cliff Notes version.
Let's hear it.
Dak had a Sunday fun day after the game in the rail yard and struggled to stand. Hit his head, fell, hit his head on the table, cut his ear a little bit.
Yep.
Dang.
Such a long story to tell.
Sunday fun day, a little bit too hard.
That game did not help at all. So it's funny. We all went to the 11:30 game against Iowa last Sunday, and let's just say the alcohol had not all worn off from the night before. And so we just decided to keep going. I stayed for the whole game. Everybody else we were with did not. They all left, which, do I blame them? Not really. The game was pretty crappy.
Yeah.
It wasn't close at all.
I went home after the game. Dak proceeded to get very frustrated with the game and fall over.
Yep.
Wow. I'm actually disappointed now that I know you guys were drinking the whole time, and the only text I got the whole game was "Fire Fred." That was it.
me and Hunter. Okay, so I what did we go? 5 people. I stayed there with Hunter for a little bit there, and we were just sitting there, just fired up about it. We were fired up. There's a couple things we were fired up about, but mostly the crowd that was at the game. It was not impressive.
In what sense?
It was not.
It was empty.
And this is not just the Iowa. I mean, the Iowa game being the main one we're talking about, but it was supposed to be a sellout. Well, it was a sellout. It never did fill completely in. Now, did the game help the way the crowd got into the game? No, because we got down pretty early and just never got anything going to where we had anything to cheer about. We were in the top row, whatever, 5 rows from the top. I just felt like the energy in there never got to a point that helped the team out, but it goes two ways. The team, I don't think, gave the crowd much to get hyped about either, which we've seen throughout this year in certain moments, especially on the road, obviously when you don't have a crowd, but even at home where we don't have the K-Say that we've had that can just really energize and juice up a crowd, even the team, just for that matter, the team itself, which I think was a big part of the way the season kind of fell apart for us.
Yep.
It was a rough way to go out. I don't necessarily, is it the fans' responsibility to show up to the last game of the year when you've shown no little competency at the end of the season and you've kind of thrown away the year? I don't know. They bought the tickets Sunday morning.
I mean,
I
what
guess-
would you say that place was? 50% full, Hunter?
No,
75. It was pretty empty.
I mean, I would say 75 to 85. I mean, it was still people that were there. It wasn't packed, sold out.
It's also a Sunday morning.
It was a Sunday morning.
Church.
But everything was on the line, right? Like to go to the Big Ten tournament and maybe save an NCAA tournament berth by winning a couple in the tournament. It was all there, and it didn't happen. And we talked about it on this podcast a lot, how it's so weird how closely it is from like, okay, Fred's getting a freaking statue built because we're going to win our first NCAA tournament game to, man, is Fred even the right move going forward anymore? I was very fired up that day. I don't think my mind's changed a whole lot. I think this Crown tournament could show me something a little bit one way or the other, but it seems stale. I'm going to use that word over and over, I think, and that's a word that you hear a lot with programs is when things stop moving and progressing in a way that you want them to as a fan, or, I mean, obviously, if you're an administrator making the decision, there comes a point in time where you try something else. Love Fred. I love the guy. Like, there's nothing against Fred. There's nothing. I think assistant coaches did a great job. Are the players still responding and playing for him and his level of motivation that he's given to them? That I don't know. And am I saying we have crazy expectations to be a blue blood or a top 3 team in the Big Ten year after year? No. But it just was very disappointing how the year ended. And it makes you wonder, like, okay, here we go again. Like, we're going to rally it up. Fred made a long post after the game. We're going to probably get some transfers, ranks coming back. Like, what are the pieces we're going to get? Like, I get that, but it comes to a point where do you benefit more from trying someone else? And I know what Dak's going to say, well, who else are you going to get? Who else wants to come to Nebraska and be the next head coach at Nebraska? Like, you guys should be happy with Fred. My response to that is it could be anybody. Like, give me any of these up-and-comer coaches for these teams like Drake, teams like High Point, like these random coaches that pop up that have young and upcoming and where Nebraska is a next step. Like, give me one of those guys. Give me a Dusty May that was at Florida Atlantic that went to Michigan. Give me a guy like that. Give me guys that have proven themselves and we'll see what they can do at Nebraska.
I mean, I am in the camp where, so I was texting my brothers after the game. I'm definitely in the camp of one more year. But next year, it's a hot seat. It's tournament or bust, basically. But I did say if we could get Will Wade from McNeese State this year, I'd probably take Will Wade.
There's another name there.
My older brother, who also a season ticket holder, he was also pro keeping Fred. He had some arguments about it was just the players weren't executing, that we missed but I disagree with some of his statements around that the players just weren't executing because it was like our shot percentage on wide open looks was like 30%. And like our 3-point shooting, like Connor's season 3-point shooting against ranked teams was 17% lower than against unranked teams. It's like, well, I see what you're saying, but
I mean, who were our shooters this year? Connor
Basically him.
and Bryce.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, then it dropped off a cliff.
Jawan was probably your third best shooter.
Maybe Sam.
I mean, maybe that's what's hard is, and that's not an uncommon theme that we've seen at Nebraska, not just with Fred, but like we need to find guys that can shoot the ball, and Casey was one of those guys, and he was really elite at shooting. Connor at times showed he could be an elite shooter, but like you said, Austin, in big games, we couldn't get it.
The other argument for keeping Fred was he pointed out just financially the buyout with the new stadium, and then we are paying out the coaches
that.
What?
We have unlimited amount of money.
I don't know if we do. Like, there's just a lot. I don't think this is where they want to spend their money.
Okay,
that's all. That's
with
the
all the
argument.
new NIL stuff. Yes, there's now another element that you have to add into it. I still think, from a financial standpoint, Nebraska has an abundant amount of resources when it comes to that. But I agree, as far as you're given a bucket, a pool of money, you would like to be allocating it elsewhere in terms
and
of.
I think it's more of a like we'll give them a little longer leash. That's more of the argument. It's not that we couldn't do it, but it's
right.
Do we have to? There's been some progress the last 3 years. You know, we've seen it. We've been close this year. Last year we made the tournament. So I think you give them a little longer leash just because you're trying to fundraise all this money for the stadium renovations and NIL stuff and the 7 head football coaches you're paying.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating. It's sad. It's depressing. It's like, I don't know how the whole year went. Not to the point that it disinterested any of us, but I mean, there were times that it was like, well, the season's over, and then we crawled our way back a little bit. Oh, and then it's over again, and then the way it ended, just brutal. Now,
it's the way, it's the way how it ended. You know, if it was like a whole like we win one, we lose one, we win one, we lose one all year, it's like, okay, we expected this, but it was no, we won a shit ton at the beginning. We had a terrible losing streak, and then we had like 4 big wins in a row. All of a sudden, we're back like a lock in the tournament, and then we fumbled against 3 of the worst teams in the Big Ten to end the year. Terrible. It's terrible, Ernie.
We were talking yesterday, though. He's got to add a lot of players in the portal.
Oh, yeah. This is like a rebuild. Like last
you
year,
don't have a point guard. And, I don't know.
He does, but we do, but that's what he does. Like that we've done that every year. How many guys can you say in Nebraska have been here for 3 or 4 years? I mean, I don't even know if I can name one that played. Like, that's just what Hoiberg has done, even pre all of this movement in college sports. So I'm not worried that we will get people. Just it's going to be a new group again, and so again, you can get hyped and excited about that. It is. I mean, he's not doing it intentionally. It's kind of smart though. Like, it doesn't ever look like it's completely fallen off a cliff because you get excitement around new people every year. Now, at what level do you? I mean, Nebraska fans put blind faith into it. Yay. We love this person. They had talked up, but it's like, I mean, look at some of those guys coming in from last year. Braxton Mia, like he was meh. Like Andrew Morgan showed signs of like good stuff, but also like meh. Berke Buchengel, like UCLA guy. Early on, it was like this guy, like, yeah, gets hurt. Like, okay, he turned into meh. Like, that's just what all these guys are, and that's what the portal is a little bit. That's part of living with it. So again, you know, a guy like at Drake brings in. He came from a Division II school, I believe, and went to Drake and brought 4 Division II, like all conference players, and look what they're doing. They lost 1 game in the Summit League this year. I think there's other options out there in the portal if we were to choose to go that route. I'm not 100% there, but at the same time, it's like, is it stale? Like, is it?
I don't know. I mean, your concern is this year with the bringing in, like last year we had 2 good guys that we were kind of bringing in role players around. This year we need to bring in the good guys because the role players are sticking around. So we get a little bit more concerned with this year's rebuild because we are losing our two clearly best players that this whole team operated around and basically carried the team at stretches. Rank Mass will be back, but there's talent out there.
Let me ask you guys this, then. We obviously have 2 weeks left here till the Crown starts back up, and we have a basketball game. Where could your mind go as a result of this tournament? Where do you think it should be heading into the tournament, and what do you think will happen?
I guess where do I think by the time we get there, I'll be excited to watch Nebraska basketball, but it feels more like a swan song and less like we're going to go out there and win it, but it's more like I'd like to watch these guys play a little bit more, if that makes sense. I don't think the expectation is we win. At least I don't. How about this? I shouldn't say the expectation. I do not expect us to win. I expect us to win maybe 1 or 2 games and then we lose. And then the year's going to end, and there's going to be questions on whether we fire Fred. But at that point, we've extended our season, and Fred's been around, and we don't fire Fred, and we go into the offseason a little sad, and then we get a big transfer, and we'll be right back at it. I think that is how it's going to go.
Is everybody on the team going to play in the tournament?
Probably.
I've not heard anything yet. That's a great thought.
I don't know why you wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't, because there's no one. I mean, Bryce could probably go pro, but Jawan's.
I don't think either of them are pro level players.
No,
And
yeah. So I don't know why they'd sit out.
Even if they are, yeah, they need the focused screen time.
Yeah.
If some guys don't play, I think it's very telling in a negative way about the team and where everybody's heads are at. I get it. We're probably disappointed with how the year ended too, as players, as coaches, and all of that. I don't know. Here's what, and it's hard. It's so hard as a coach and as a program. But you have to keep in mind all of these teams that are in this tournament, a lot of them are pretty much in the same boat as you. Like we probably fell off. You know, if you want to put all 16 of these teams on a chart, we probably had the highest point for a lot of them. As far
we probably had the best wins out of all the teams on this.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And so have we fallen off? But for sure, do we belong in this tournament? Like, yes, with how we ended up, we do. So all these other teams are also there. They also are at very different levels of motivation. You know, I think it should be hard for a team and coaches to go into this tournament saying, well, we were there, we just fell off. Like, yeah, that's kind of deflating, but it also should kind of piss you off, and you have an opportunity to play more basketball. Now, as a fan, I don't blame any of us for saying, let's turn it on, let's watch it. But it just reminds me of when we went to the NIT that one year and we just laid an absolute egg. And everybody was like, oh, well, no one wants to play in the NIT anyways because you just missed a tournament. I'm like, bullshit. Like, every team that's here is in the same boat. It's an opportunity to play a game of basketball against another team. If you're a competitor, you're going to go out there, compete your ass off. And especially for a program like Nebraska, who is not an NCAA tournament team year after year, maybe you can make that excuse if you're a North Carolina or a Villanova or a Michigan State and they fall into this secondary tournament. But Nebraska, like, we don't make these tournaments ever. Right. And so
the expectation at Nebraska is not, like, I don't think the expectation is every year we're a tournament team. I think that's the desire of where we want to be, but that's not the expectation. Like, if we're in one year, out the other year, and then in another year, I think that's what their expectation is we're competitive to be in the tournament, but it's not a tournament or bust team.
You want to probably make it, what do you think, once every 4 years? Is probably.
I want to make it every year.
Well, yeah, but expectation-wise.
I would say a little more than that. I mean, I think as an athletic director, as a program, you're shooting for every other year, if not maybe a little. I mean, that's what you're shooting for to start, and then you build off of that. What I think where my thoughts are going into this tournament, if I don't think there's anything that could make me want to fire Fred more. I mean, if we come out and just lay an egg, like I honestly, it's sad. I kind of do think that what could happen. What I'm saying is it shouldn't happen if you're a competitor and you as a coach, player, all of that. But I think it could. But here's my thought: why not just go win? Like, it would be so fun to go win that thing.
Yes.
And I get the perception of Nebraska fans gonna be like, "Oh, great, you won the new annual crown tournament," or "Great, you won the NIT," or "You made the Final Four." Like everybody's gonna have that. Well, it'd be nice if we could make a tournament. I get that, but good God, people, it's something. Like it's something. Success against other, especially this tournament, against other Power 5 programs. If we were to beat Arizona State in December, we would be on cloud 9 because we beat another Power 5 school. It was a great win.
Yeah.
That shouldn't change just because we're now playing in a tournament in April. Like, it actually should be the opposite. But I can already tell you it won't be if we do go on a run and win some games. Everybody's going to be like, like, this is great, but why couldn't we do this in the tournament? Well, guess what? Like,
we're not in the tournament.
We didn't deserve to be in the tournament because we laid eggs. But it would speak volumes if the team came out, played together, played for each other, played for the coaching staff, played for the school, and went out and won a few games, if not the whole thing, in Vegas. Like, that would be neat. That would be a very big positive and would change my mind a lot about how I'm thinking about Fred right now. Do I think that's going to happen? No. I probably expect us to lose the first game just because that's what Nebraska fans do.
If we make the semifinals, are you flying to Vegas?
Maybe. It could be fun.
April.
So-
it's a weekend,
Is it single elimination or double?
I think it's single.
Single.
Yeah.
Dak,
But yeah,
name
like I
any,
said,
name
like I
any
said earlier-
postseason tournament that's double elimination.
Big Ten baseball tournament.
yeah, baseball. That's
I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited to watch this play.
it's
I'm
a good
honest-
tournament to be in.
Yeah, I'm honestly more excited about watching us play in the college basketball crown than I really am about the round of 64.
Dak, you disagree with that?
Yeah, I don't know about that, but
I don't blame you for disagreeing, but that's where I'm at. Like, I'll watch UNO get smoked by St. John's. I mean, I'll watch. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to watch the round of 64, but I am more excited about Nebraska and Arizona State. Not saying it's a better game by any means, better television than the round of 64.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit because the bracket did come out last
Yesterday.
night, on Sunday. I guess real quick, women's bracket also came out. Ladies are the 10th seed playing Louisville, the 7th seed. I don't know. I mean, I think that's about where I kind of expected them to fall. A chance to, you're going to be probably a slight underdog, but not by much in a lot of those 7-10 matchups. I think, that go out and play well. You're moving on to the next round. So anything else in the women?
No, I mean, women's typically a pretty chalky tournament. I'm glad we made it. We're a deep team, and with our injuries, I think we would have actually had a really good shot this year at being a better seed than 10, but you lose your, arguably you're one of your top 2 players, definitely top 3 players at the beginning of the year. 10 seed's pretty good.
Nothing, Dak.
Nope.
Thanks, guys.
No comment.
You're just ready to talk about OU and UConn.
Yeah, I don't. UConn's not as good as they normally are this year, but and Oklahoma's playing a lot better towards the end of the year here, but that's a pretty tough draw, just because of Hurley in the tournament.
Well, you think a team's scary because they won back-to-back national titles or something?
A little bit, yeah,
An average of 21 points.
just a little bit. But there's one part about Oklahoma that I think could maybe, I'm not saying go all the way in the tournament, but get them pretty far, is Jeremiah Fears. When you have one player that's that good, it helps you a lot in the tournament.
Yeah, agreed. So here's how I want to do our tournament preview here this year. Which before we do this, we will have a bracket challenge available out there, titled Return to Glory, Nebraska, on ESPN. So you'll be able to find that. We'll post it on our Twitter link. You can join, chance to win some free gear. We have new t-shirts, new hats, plenty of shot glasses and different merchandise to give out. So tournament preview, I want to do this. We'll go by region. I want you guys to give who you got going out of the region, a dark horse, and a potential matchup that you're either first round of 64 or potential matchup down the road that you're excited to watch and why. So Dak, I'm going to start with you if you're ready.
Yeah.
In the West, you got the brackets. Otherwise, I can start if you're not ready.
Yeah. Let me get the bracket up here.
Well, we'll start in the West because we're already talking about UConn and OU. Florida's the 1 seed in that division, and St. John's is the 2 seed, playing our own truly Omaha as a 2-15 matchup. This is where UConn and OU are in there as well. Here's who I got coming out of it. I got Florida.
Yeah.
I think I'm very not to chalky on them, but I do think Florida's playing really good basketball right now. And Coach Golden, like he's impressive what he's done at Florida. My sleeper team is probably going to be. It's probably going to be pretty common, but it's Drake.
Yep.
Drake. I talked a lot about their coach. I've watched them in their conference tournament a little bit. They play very, very, very slow. Their adjusted pace is like Virginia type slow back in the day. And then potential matchup, and this is probably pretty common too, is that 2 St. John's Rick Pitino matchup against either Calipari at Arkansas or Bill Self at Kansas. I think that 2-7 or 2-10 matchup, just from a coaching standpoint, is going to be very intriguing to watch. I believe they already scheduled that game for Saturday night. So assuming St. John's can get past Omaha,
the Mavericks,
which also is going to be worth watching just because of our interest in Omaha. But I think that's the matchup that I'm looking forward to the most, just from the pure coaching standpoint. Any other differences or thoughts?
No, mine's pretty similar. I actually I was at DJ's dugout in Exarban eating lunch on yesterday, and some reporter came by and was like, "Hey, would you like to answer a few questions about how excited you are about UNO being in the tournament?" And I was like, "I don't know if I'm qualified. Like I follow along," but she's like, "No, it will be easy." It's like, I can't in good conscience be like, "I'm so excited for UNO to be in the tournament." It's like, I'm really just upset Nebraska's not. Like, I'm being honest. But no, I agree. Drake's pretty common. I don't know. I really don't know how good Kansas is this year. That's my one thing. I like St. John's. Florida's been really freaking good, and the SEC is really good. But having run against UConn and Maryland before getting there, I think I feel better about St. John's. Maybe if they get through Kansas or Arkansas. But that's my only real difference. I agree with the matchup, Drake being, and then Florida being my favorite as well.
Yeah, I agree with all that about this, but what do you think about Colorado State being favored over Memphis?
I mean, tough draw.
Penny Hardaway's a bad coach.
The only other, so Dak, you don't have anything different? Nothing to add?
No,
nothing. No Oklahoma insiders.
Nothing. You have nothing. You're just blank.
Well, I don't. Even if Oklahoma beats UConn, I don't think they're getting past Florida. Neither of those teams are.
Florida's really freaking good.
Florida's really good. That's probably the toughest draw you can have right now.
Here's one team that I wanted to take in my bracket, but the more I just listen, I don't know if I can because they're just not very deep as Maryland. Like Maryland got hot by the end of the year, and they played really well. If they were in a different scenario, I do think I almost have them a lock to get to the Sweet 16. I do like them getting to that spot, but I just think, going up against Florida, I think it's tough, especially for a team that's not very deep. And I do believe teams that have depth in the tournament fare much better off than the ones that don't because you're playing a lot of games back to back, 2 different weekends. So, okay, move on. Let's go to the East. Duke, the 1 seed in the East. Bama being the 2. Our Big Ten, Wisconsin as the 3 seed. Austin, I'll let you kind of go through your thoughts on the East.
It depends on Cooper Flag. I mean, that's kind of the. If he's healthy, I feel pretty good about Duke. If he's not healthy, I feel pretty. No, I've cooled on it. Okay, the team I like the best, I like Duke. Woohoo, going chalk. As far as the team that can make some noise, gosh, maybe BYU. I don't know if a 6 seed really counts. It's kind of high, but I kind of like what they're doing. And then the matchup I'm most interested in is definitely going to be if Wisconsin were to make it against Alabama. I think that would be the most interesting.
See, yeah, the team I really like here is Wisconsin. I think they're very underrated. Could have been a 2 seed probably, but yeah, they're a team to watch coming out of here. My favorite, oh boy, I guess Duke. It's like you said, it's all about Cooper Flag. And then I guess the matchup to watch is St. Mary's Vanderbilt. Which, looking back on it, what?
Why?
Just because that's the closest spread.
God damn it.
We beat St. Mary's. No, we lost to St. Mary's.
No, lost. I was going to say that by 3, I think.
Yeah.
So you know nothing about either one of those teams, though?
Nope. I did not watch Nebraska St. Mary's.
Here's where my head's going. You guys both kind of talked about Cooper Flag. I agree. This region could be dominated by Duke if they're fully healthy. Duke has been very, 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 very good.
Yes.
And that's what I think with a lot of these teams here, like the top 6-ish teams, I think are very dominant.
It's a pretty chalky year.
It is. And you can't say normally there's like 1 or 2, maybe, like UConn you want to say, but and then your seeds after that through about the 4 seed are all kind of like, yeah, I don't know. This year I feel like they're like the 1 seeds and a couple of the 2 seeds, Bama being one of them, pretty damn good. Now something like Cooper Flag gets re-injured, doesn't play. I'm just gonna like sleepily throw in Arizona.
Yeah,
potentially just sneaking in. They're a team that nobody's talked about them a whole lot this year. They just kind of are hanging around. New Big 12 team, like just kind of chilling. They had a pretty solid year. They're not a 1 or 2 seed, but they're going to get overlooked, I think. And if Duke somehow gets banged up, they're one I could throw out there. I'm with you on BYU. I think they're going to be a very trendy pick. That's for sure. I really don't have a matchup. Like I do think that assuming it's Bama Duke or Bama Wisconsin, I think those are going to be good when we get to that point. There's nothing really that intrigues me a lot though.
Early on, I agree.
So that's my take on the East. Midwest region, 1 seed being the Houston Cougars, Kelvin Sampson. Tennessee, the 2 seed. Kentucky slides in here. The 3 seed are Big Ten Purdue Boilermakers. The 4 seed, Dak. I'll let you kind of start off with the Midwest.
The underdog I got coming out of here is probably Kentucky.
Another 3 seed, just like Wisconsin.
I don't like any of these other. I don't like Illinois. I don't like.
I'm not telling you to pick a team to make it to the Final Four. I'm telling you to pick a team that could be
cause some issues the first couple rounds. Maybe make the Elite 8.
Yeah, Houston's going to beat whoever comes out of Georgia, Gonzaga. Like Kentucky, I think would be your best bet here of an underdog.
Keep going. Keep talking, Dak.
Keep talking. You keep
It'll be
talking.
our turn.
You give us your thoughts.
All right. And then the matchup I like the most is probably Purdue High Point.
Why?
I think High Point could upset Purdue.
Why?
He just does. This is
I don't
March
think Purdue.
Madness.
I don't think Purdue's that good this year.
What do you know about High Point?
Got a nice
I
young
don't.
up-and-coming coach that we can want.
I don't know much about him, but and then the winner coming out.
Take if you're gonna say Kentucky's your underdog as a 3 seed, you have to take them out of there. Like you,
Okay, we'll take Kentucky coming out.
just like you did against Wisconsin, and you did not take Wisconsin.
Kentucky and Wisconsin are going to make it out of their brackets.
I think. This is easily the best bracket. I thought, as far as matchups and who's playing in the games and like the teams you're interested in. Do you want to go first, Hunter?
Yeah. I'm actually Dak. I'm disagreeing with you. I think the fun matchup and also an underdog that I think could do it is Gonzaga.
Yes.
As an 8 seed, I think they could take down. Now, I love Kelvin Sampson. I also
love Mark Few.
But Gonzaga as an 8 seed, like, come on. I think I heard they've made, is it 4 or 5 straight Sweet 16s in a row. Now, they've been higher seeds, right? You want to look at a lot of their metrics and ratings, their adjusted net ratings, offense and defense, like they are hitting the criteria. Now, their level of opponents, very different than a lot of these SEC, Big 10, Big 12 type of schools, but that's I think they could make some noise, and I think
Good coach, good program.
I agree, and they've shown history. So yeah, give me Zaga is kind of like my dark horse there. One team that I'm for sure fading is Illinois. Like they've just fell off a cliff. I usually kind of like Brad Underwood, but also in the tournament they have not been good either. That's an 11-6 I'm picking. The other team that I think to watch out for, just because I've always liked him in the tournament too, is Mick Cronin in UCLA.
They've been good this year.
I think they could, and that's the matchup I guess I'm looking forward to is a potential Mick Cronin, Rick Barnes, Tennessee, UCLA matchup there, defense versus high potent offense. Coming out of here though, and as I said, this all my underdogs and all of that fun stuff. Oh, also I'm fading Kentucky, by the way. So yeah, opposite of you on that, Dak. I'm gonna be chalky again, very chalky. Give me Houston, even though I do think Gonzaga could take them down. I think Kelvin Sampson's got a solid group. I think this could be their year to come out of there.
I not quite in total agreement, but like I said, like Houston's good, Houston's physical, but gosh, Gonzaga and Georgia's well coached. Like even if Georgia beats Gonzaga, Georgia's not an easy win for Houston, and then Houston has to go through probably Purdue or Clemson. Both are pretty good. Outside of Gonzaga being the surprise team, I do like McNeese State to make a little bit of noise.
Yep.
I like Will Wade. I feel like they're kind of that team. That's my favorite. I usually try to pick a 1-12-5, maybe 2-12-5 upsets. That's definitely the one I'm picking in all of my brackets. But yeah, man, all these are good matchups. Or good games. I shouldn't say good matchups. But I'm probably gonna go Tennessee. I think I like Tennessee over Houston. I think they're both pretty physical, but I think Tennessee probably just has a little bit better top end talent over Houston. They've had a pretty good year. It's a little revenge tour for Rick Barnes.
I like it. Last but not least, the South. Auburn, the 1 seed. Michigan State, the 2 seed. Iowa State, the 3 seed. Texas A&M, the 4 seed.
Big Ten champion Michigan, 5 seed.
Champion Michigan, right there is a 5 seed. I'm very intrigued by this region just as much as the last one. There's some fun little matchups, conversations, some good coaches. I would say some defensive-minded coaches when you want to start looking across the board, which I really enjoy. You got Bruce Pearl at Auburn, Izzo. You got Chris Beard at Ole Miss. By the way, Ole Miss is my 6 seed lock to get to the Sweet 16. I sneakily like them and also could see them actually getting to Elite 8 as well. So Ole Miss is kind of my sleeper pick there. The Michigan UC San Diego game, both teams that have been very up and down. I think that's a trendy 12-5. The Louisville playing at home, basically, against Creighton, with potential to play Auburn at home, pretty much. Like, that's fascinating. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take Mr. March and Tom Izzo.
Yep.
2 seed, pulling them out of the bottom there. I think them and Ole Miss, I think that's going to be the Elite 8 matchup. Or no, the Sweet 16 matchup there. I think the winner of that game is a good chance of coming out of this region. I even think Ole Miss could do it. I think they're another one under the radar SEC team. Had it, I wouldn't say they're one of the top, obviously, but they're going to know how to win a lot of these games. So, yeah. Sorry, Creighton. I think you're getting your ass kicked, and I hope you do.
I agree. Tom Izzo, he's one of those guys, just like Syracuse. I'd always pick Syracuse to go further than it should. Michigan State, I have them winning it as well. Team I'm most matchup I'm most interested in is obviously Creighton Louisville. Not just because it's the Creighton, but I actually think it is the best 9-8 matchup. But I actually think Michigan, I don't know, is the 5 seed too high for Michigan to make too much noise?
Nope.
Okay, then I like Michigan. They won the Big Ten. The Big Ten's tough. Auburn's probably going to have to play a decent – Creighton or Louisville, they're both quality opponents, and then you have to play probably Michigan. I think that's a tough little run, so I like Michigan. 2 Michigans. Big Ten bias right here. That's me.
See, that was the one I was thinking about. Is Michigan got really screwed being a 5 seed. And I can't remember. They were talking about part of my take today. I think they got to fly out to like Montana or something like that. I don't know, but so I like. You know what? I'll go Iowa State coming out of this bracket. I think Iowa State was probably the second best. Well, they were the second best Big 12 team coming out. And then the matchup I'm most excited for, let's go. Oh, Texas A&M Yale. I don't think Texas A&M is that good. I watched them a little bit this year. They're very up and down. Book it. Yale's going to beat A&M.
I've heard that as a pretty likable pick there, dude. I've heard that Yale's got the size to beat around with A&M.
They're just not consistent at all.
I do like Buzz Williams, so there's that. Okay, any other tournament talk?
Who you guys got winning it all?
No, probably Florida.
It's hard. I like trying to be a little bit contrary, as I'm filling out pools and stuff.
That's how you win your bracket. Well, I don't know. Sometimes
it can. Depends on, depending on how big your bracket pools and challenges are. Obviously, the more different and then more right you are with those different picks gives you a much better advantage over everybody else. I'm gonna go Michigan State. Give me Izzo.
I really like Duke if Cooper Flagg's healthy.
So are you taking him or not? Put your nuts on the table.
Yeah, I'll take Duke.
Okay. Now who you got winning the crown?
Arizona State. No, I don't.
You don't know anybody else that's in it, do you?
I don't. I do not.
Okay, last thing here. Topic of conversation. Dylan Raiola weight checked.
Did you hear? You're not the only one on the Dylan Raiola weight watch.
I'm glad the word finally got out. We're doing our jobs as podcasters of promoting what needs to happen to get our football team back to being successful. It's out. Matt Rule spoke, I believe, on Tuesday last week at a press conference and talked about the importance of him getting in more shape and even throughout the number 240. I'm not sure if that was what he was last year, what he needs to get to, what that number meant, but it's definitely on their in their purview and what they're expecting. I saw Dylan in a picture at Boyd State basketball or on a video. I thought maybe I saw some signs of maybe a little bit of lost LBs. I don't know.
He's got a long time to lose those weight. Like he's got a what, when you have that level of dietitian staff and you have that kind of training, like you can drop the weight pretty quick.
I agree. I guess the it's better late than never. I guess the frustrating part is why I guess you watch him play a year in college football and you could see his biggest weakness or one of his biggest weaknesses was his lack of mobility. That was very evident to a lot of people. And so, now we're having to rebuild his body, which I guess out of everything else that you can be complaining about, probably not too high up on the list of like most concerning things. He's still here. And I think you want to talk about his leadership and his obvious ability to recruit and bring people in, have command of the offense, being a vocal, like I think all those things are not he's perfect at, but I think you feel okay about a lot of those things. Now he's going to lose some weight and it sounds like that's a focus, which is great. Yeah.
Man, good weight update.
Say weight update. And the other thing, and I was fired up about it. Still a little bit am. I'm throwing it out on people's radar. Couple of things that happened that again, Dylan has done for the most part, I think a very fair job of putting his head down and working, not trying to show who he is, why he's here, like outside of, again, you have to do a little bit of that to recruit and help promote the program. But I think there can become excess parts of it where it becomes more all about you in the spotlight and having to be in the center of attention of everything. I'm not saying 100% that it's there, but you don't have to wear purple, K-State purple to a Nebraska game, went into blackout and stand out in front of the crowd. Everybody knows who the hell you are. Like you don't have to do that. Like I don't think that's anything that's you trying to be cool. And I don't think that's necessarily a good thing because I think you're losing focus on the things that matter. Second thing that happened, again, cool. I'm sure the high school girls from Millard West loved it. He had to photobomb their state championship photo with the trophy and held the trophy in front. Again, cool. I'm sure they loved it, but what's that doing for you? It makes it a little about you. Like, just going to say it. Again, there's a fine line between, I think, promoting the program and then taking advantage of who you are and getting away from what's most important. And what's most important, that our football team's shitty, that we suck.
I did see it was the picture of it was like I don't know if it was like an Instagram photo of him, and then the girls basketball one is like everyone thought we were getting Patrick Mahomes 2.0, but really we got Jackson Mahomes 2.0. I thought it was kind of funny.
Hunter was fired up about that picture with the girls.
It just all I said, it makes it a little bit of vibe. Again, running out of the tunnel to lead your team. That was a kind of a first thing. I'm like, okay, leadership maybe. I just don't want it to turn into becoming a bunch of red flags of it's my way or the highway, which if we rewind when we got him, when would this have been? A year, 15, 16 months ago, that was my big concern, was he was going to come in and just run the show. And it's my way or the highway. And when you're putting that in the hands of a 17, 18, 19-year-old athlete, that can be scary. Now, I thought he handled himself very well during his first year as far as being professional, mature, taking the blame, owning up to mistakes. I think all of that he did a very good job of. But he also was a freshman, and I think that's what freshmen, it's good that he did that. We'll just continue to monitor this because now that he's here and he's the face. He is the face of Nebraska football. And the Raiola name potentially could be for the next 5 to 7 years. So let's just see how it all plays out. Success or failure. Winning games matters the most. And it doesn't matter how cool or what color you wear to a basketball game. If you're winning games, I really don't give a shit. But we're not winning. We went 7-6 this year, which I guess was better than the year before. Let's show it on our field. Let's show it on the field before we get too much further ahead of ourselves. That's all I got to say.
I agree. I'm usually, I feel you're a little hyperbolic, but goddamn, that purple to a freaking blackout basketball game pissed me off so much.
It was nuts. You could just see him right in the front row there.
Ugh.
All right. Well, we'll be back here sometime soon. Probably talk a little more March Madness. Catch up on some Husker baseball, Husker softball. And spring practice will be starting here in a couple of weeks. So yeah, look forward to as well.
I guess, the spring game is they announced the Husker games. So a little different format that we're going to talk about.
Yep. Should be a fun day. Dak, don't get a concussion.
I'll try not to.
Yeah.
All right. Go Big Red.
GBR.
Go Big Red.